Hello, good afternoon. Let's get started. So mabuhay and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. My name is Adrienne Ortizo, and on behalf of the Filipino Americans of Con Edison, we officially welcome you to today's Lunch and Learn, Philippine Culture and Community. We have a jam-packed agenda for you today, but a couple of housekeeping items. For our visitors here to Irving Place today, you were escorted into the building. You also have to be escorted out, so see us at the end of the event. For any restroom facilities, there's a single-use bathroom when you make a left out of the glass doors. The main floor bathrooms are located if you make two rights, and they'll be located on your right side. In the event of an emergency, please stop and listen to the Fire Safety Director for next actions. And also just note, we will be taking video and pictures for today's event. If you wish to not be in the video or have your picture taken, please let one of the event staff know. So just some fun facts for today in You History Buffs. It's actually a very exciting time for the Filipino American community. Today is Flag Day of the United States. Also, the Philippines celebrated their Independence Day on June 12th. And 2 weeks ago, on June 2nd, New York City held the Philippine Independence Day Parade just north of here at Madison Square Park. All right, so today's agenda. After me, we'll be hearing from Will on APACE, and he'll tell you about that, Employee Resource Group, ERG. We'll then have a video of the Philippines, basically Philippines in a nutshell. And then next speaking, we'll have Joey from the Philippine Department of Tourism, USA, Charisse from Philippine Airlines, and Ms. Ponseca from the Jeepney and Maharlika restaurants. All right, and then lastly, we'll conclude with a Pinoy food challenge. It involves a balut, and all I'll say about that is that it's a Filipino cuisine. So I'm looking for volunteers. I see one right there, and I need two more. It'll be very fun. So thank you, and I'll introduce Will.
Thank you, Adrienne. I'm going to make this quick because I know it's a jam-packed presentation after me. It's nice to see a lot of familiar faces here, but also nice to see a lot of unfamiliar faces here. So that this is looks like a very successful event, or it's going to be a very successful event. But my message here today is really that we have. Oh, you can hear me? Hello?
Just right up.
Hello? Oh, sorry. So I'm here today. My name is William Lee. I'm here to represent APACE. APACE is the Asian ERG at Con Edison. Does anyone know what APACE stands for by any chance? Really quick? One hand?
Asian Professional
Sally?
Alliance. Asian Professional Alliance of Con Edison.
Very good. So yeah, Asian Professional Alliance at Con Edison. So we're a brand new ERG. We're out there. We have a SharePoint site. We're actually having a Monday event up in the auditorium, same time. Not as good food, but it will be at noon. So that's my reminder. You'll hear more about us if you can come out to our Monday event. Adrienne. Thank you.
Where's the Philippines and how do you get there? Located in Southeast Asia, the Philippines is an archipelago of 7,107 islands, bounded by the Pacific Ocean on the east, Hong Kong in the north, and Indonesia in the south. The country's coastline measures 36,289 kilometers, giving the destination miles and miles of unspoiled white sand beaches. For those who do not know the Philippines, it is an Asian country with a passionate flair for life that is more Latin than Asian. This is due to the fact that the culture is a unique blend of diverse influences in its history, namely Malay, Chinese, Spanish, and American. The Philippines is truly a place where East meets West. The Filipinos, as the people are called, are known for their hospitality. They enjoy entertaining guests and go out of their way to make visitors feel at home. The Philippines is a country rich in tourism resources. The islands that comprise the Philippines are grouped into Northern Philippines, Central Philippines, and Southern Philippines. Philippine Airlines has direct flights daily from several North American cities to Manila, the primary international gateway of the country. From Manila, the Philippine Airlines connect to a vast domestic network. The capital is the jump-off point to other parts of the country. Several international airlines also fly from North America to other Philippine gateways, like Clark, Cebu, and Davao via other Asian cities. What are the top tourist destinations of the Philippines? Manila, the premier city and capital of the Philippines, is a good place to start. It has been the seat of government since the Spaniards colonized the islands in the 16th century. A tour of the walled city of Intramuros allows the visitor a glimpse into Manila's historical past. Manila's dining options are a treat for people who live for good food and innovative cuisine. The city's five-star hotels all offer not only luxurious accommodations, but also a choice of dining possibilities and music entertainment. The entertainment city of Manila is another fun place to chill out in the evenings. Manila, as the fun capital, is a popular meetings, incentives, convention, and exhibition destination as well. Would you believe that a bottle of beer costs less than $1 and a good massage less than $10 in the Philippines? That definitely is a value for money. Let us now travel from north to south of the country to locate the popular tourism spots outside Manila. Up at northern Philippines, we find 3 other popular destinations: Baguio, Banaue, and the Ilocos region. Baguio, with its cool weather, strawberries, and pine trees, is popular for summer escapades and honeymoons. Banaue, in the mountains of the Cordilleras, is where the 2,000-year-old engineering marvel and UNESCO heritage site called Banaue Rice Terraces are found. The Ilocos region is home to 3 UNESCO heritage sites, namely, the historic city of Vigan with its turn-of-the-century Spanish-Mexican ambiance, and 2 Baroque churches of the Philippines, the Santa Maria and the Poway churches. Now going to central Philippines, we have the festive islands of Boracay, Cebu, Bohol, Puerto Galera, and Palawan. Boracay, with its powdery white sand, has been judged one of the finest beaches in the world. Lately, Boracay's popularity for weddings and honeymoons has earned it the added moniker of the romantic island among Asians. Cebu, an important historical and economic center, is where Spanish history in the Philippines began. The place is also known for its mangoes, beach resorts, and dive sites. Bohol's claim to fame are the chocolate hills, the tarsier monkeys, and the rich underwater marine life around the island. Puerto Galera is the #1 hub in the country for dive enthusiasts, and its white beach is popular for beach holidays. Palawan, considered an island paradise because of its pristine scenery, keeps 2 UNESCO heritage sites as part of its treasures: the Tubataha Reefs Natural Park and the Puerto Princesa Subterranean River National Park. The Subterranean River is also one of the new 7 natural wonders of the world. Down in southern Philippines, we find Davao and Siargao. Davao, the gateway to Mindanao, is a charming city of exotic orchids, durian and banana plantations, colorful ethnic tribes, and the Philippine Eagle Sanctuary. Siargao Island is the surfing capital of the Philippines. These islands are easily combined into itineraries for product mixes like culture and history, nature and adventure, diving, health and wellness, shopping, leisure and entertainment, sun and beach, cruise, MICE, and events. Surveys of Condé Nast and travel and leisure publications for the world's best islands have always put Palawan, Boracay, and Cebu on the top 10 list for several years now. Being within the Coral Triangle, the Philippines is also well known to international divers as one of the top dive destinations in the world due to its rich marine biodiversity. There are about 2,000 species of fish and crustaceans, over 400 classes of corals, 25 shipwreck dive sites, and about 40,000 kilometers of coral reefs in the Philippines. The Philippines has 175 languages and dialects. However, English is one of the 2 official languages of the country, so visitors traveling from north to south will have no problem communicating with the local residents. So, add to the marvelous places, The cultural mix of the Philippines, the warm hospitality of the people, their innate love for fun, value for money, and affordability. And you have the cocktail that makes the Philippines the best destination for your clients or your next holiday. We hope to welcome you to the Philippines soon. Mabuhay! For more information, contact the nearest Philippine tourism office in your area.
Hi everyone, I'm Joey Chanco from the Philippine Department of Tourism. I'm here with Luz Navarro from the Philippine Department of Tourism. So it was a very informative video about the Philippines in a nutshell. I just want to add more. Of our history and culture. We actually have 6 heritage sites. So UNESCO heritage sites is it's a landmark from natural resources, and then there's a man-made also. And then there's a combination of properties, man-made and natural resources. So to the highest imaginative and creativity of human. So let's start with, these are the 6 heritage sites that you can find in the Philippines. So we have the Baroque churches of the Philippines, historic city of Vigan, rice terraces of the Philippines, which you saw in the video earlier. And then we have Mount Himagutan, Range Wildlife Sanctuary, and Puerto Princesa, and of course the Tuatara Reef. So here are samples of the Baroque churches. So this one is in Pawai Church, it's in the north. Another one is in San Agustin, which is found in Metro Manila. Another sample is Santa Maria, it's also in the north. And of course the one in Miagao in Iloilo City. Just one fun fact. Yeah, Sally's from Iloilo. So one fun fact is, during those ages, we didn't have cement to put all those rocks, so we use egg whites. They combine it with stone, and it's going to be to bind all the rocks in the stone. So very neat. Egg whites, yes. So now we're going to the historic city of Vigan. So Manila is our capital, so you have to fly down, take an airport, or you can take a bus, like a 10-hour drive. So they bring you back in time in Vigan. During the Spanish era, this was a power of all the Spaniards. This is a certain city in the north. Manila as being the first country, the first city for power of Spanish era, and then Cebu City, and then third is Vigan. So as you can see, it's still intact. And this is one of the hotels. They tried to preserve it in the Spanish era. This is daytime at Calle Crisologo. So you can see all the cobblestones. You'll see some of the houses are preserved. So you can't, if you want to renovate the places there, you can't touch the outside, the exterior. So you can renovate the interior, but the outside you can't. And now, of course, if you can see also in the video, we have the rice terraces. So this is a 2,000-year-old heritage site. So it's 20,000 kilometer. It's 7% of the mass in the Philippines. So it's all the way up in the north. If you have your maps, I think you grab some of the maps. So you'll see it in the middle of up north. So these are our ancestors carved the sides. So these are some of our ancestors. So they carved the sides of the mountain so they can plant rice. So it's natural resource, man-made, but what they do is they collect the water from the rain so it flows down so you can plant the rice effectively. So now we go down to Puerto Princesa. So it's like it's from Manila. It's probably an hour away. This is where you can see our subterranean river. It's a natural man. So that is the entrance to the subterranean river. It's found in the San Mariano, St. Paul Mountains. So what it is, it's an underground river. So on the mountain range, there's a river going inside, and then from inside, it's 8.1 kilometers long. So probably 2 kilometers. You can ride the boats and go inside. And what you can see, is stalagmites and stalactites. So those are rock formations coming from the ceiling and coming from underground. So one of my when I tried it, one of the boatman told me you can see the top of the mountain. So when you're underground, so if you go in the middle, you can see the top of the mountain. But I didn't see any holes. But that's how deep the rivers are. So of course the Tubatara Reefs. If you see on your map, it's on the east side of Palawan, of Visayas. This is what we call our holy grail if you're into diving. It's two atoll reefs. It's you go to Puerto Princesa and you use a boat. The only way that you can go there is through diving, and you have to go on a liveaboard. So you have to stay in a boat because nobody lives there. I mean, we have like Coast Guard close to the lighthouse, but you have to take a ship just to go there. So liveaboards, it means that you go diving for a week, you live on the boat, and then on the day you go diving for 2 to 3 times a day, and then go back there. So it's a natural wonder, everything. So these are samples of what you can see under the river. Coral reefs, of course. This was taken one of our photographers who's based in Michigan. And then, of course, the Mount Himagutan Range Wildlife Sanctuary. So this was voted a UNESCO Heritage Site 2014 because of its because of its home for diverse flora and fauna. So a lot of flowers there. And that's where you can see the Philippine eagle also. In that sanctuary, you can see probably 462 species of plants, rainforests, and these are some of the things that you can see also. They call the other one on the right side, it's like a tropical pineapple, but it's a flower. So, and some of our best awards, you saw it also in the video, that were always voted. Palawan is always number 1, and Boracay, they played down what year? And last year, we received an award from Condé Nast, one of my favorite islands, Siargao Island. So it's north of Surigao del Norte. It's one of the best islands I've been to. It considered about nature and history also. It's popular for surfing. So this is our website if you want to. It's PhilippineTourismUSA.com. So we have 3 offices in the U.S. So we have one in Los Angeles, one in San Francisco, and now here in New York. We're on 5th Avenue, 45th, and 46th. So this is our website, and if you want to follow us on Instagram, but we have another special request. There was on the video, there was a timeline, historical timeline of how the Philippines started. So 25,000 BC, that's the first Filipino people, if you can see them. They call Negritos, Aitas. So they are the same group as Aborigines in Australia, Papua New Guinea, and Malaysia and the Solomon Islands. So it looks very far from where they started, and it's there's a lot of water considering that, but we don't really know how they got to the Philippines. But according to scientific knowledge and stuff, they did land bridges during the Ice Age. There were like land bridges, so that's how they traveled back to the Philippines. And of course, when the Ice Age is over, no more land bridges to go back. And then of course, the arrival of Malay settlers from Asia. This is where we got influence with our techniques on how to do the rice fields, and then cultural iron melting, Stone Age and stuff. So this is, of course, Malaysia and Indonesia is down south of the Philippines, so it's easier to them to travel. And here is the trade with China, India, and Arab. Of course, it's Silk Road. So this is how the Chinese travel to the Philippines. They exchange traders, they change their silk, porcelain, and of course, our natural resources, they exchange it. It influenced the Filipino culture and culinary arts. That's how we started with the rice cakes and the noodles. And of course, the family structures, they call ate, kuya. That's how they started there also. And then in the Arabs, they specifically went down in the south of the Philippines, Mindanao. So that's how they started with the Sultanate. So it's a form of government that introduced the Sultan. So we copied some of the words, Arabic language, like Apo, which means grandchild, Alamat, legend, Sulat, which is means letter in English. So it all came from the Arabic language. And here we go from the Spanish colonial era. We were colonized by Spain for 333 years, and we've been discovered by Ferdinand Magellan. So he's a Portuguese explorer, but asked the King of Spain to sponsor his trip to go around the world, because everybody knows the world was flat during that time. So he thought that the world was circled. So, and then he landed in the Philippines. He met one of our popular from the Philippines, Lapu-Lapu. So there was like some argument, and they fought, and then Magellan died in the Philippines. So the other ship went back to Portugal. And then we tried to scatter Christianity all over the Philippines. Some areas they didn't really reach out. And then, of course, American era. After the Spanish-American Wars in 1898, America bought the Philippines from Spain, and they had us colonized from 1901 to 1935. So General Howard Taft, which is not yet the president, the 27th president of the Philippines, was the governor general in the Philippines. And then if you can see the photos, of course, we got introduced with a lot of American food, burgers, hot dogs. Of course, we had a lot of the vehicles, railroad tracks and then submarines and stuff. And World War II, so 1942 to 1946, the Japanese occupation. Of course, we were the famous Bataan Death March, which the Japanese made us, all the prisoners, go walk 60 miles from Bataan all the way to the camp where all the prisoners were held. There's a sample of the money that they had, the Japanese government. And then, of course, General MacArthur, his famous line, "I shall return," and then got the Japanese surrendered September 22, 1945. And this is the present times, of course. It's a lot of politics and stuff. So 1946, President Manuel Rojas, we had it done. And our famous president, President Ferdinand Marcos, which he was the president from 1969 to 1986. And then we had the People Power on Feb 22, 1986. And right now we have our president, Rodrigo Duterte. He's right there. So we have this new mandate to build, build, build. That's one of our mandate in the Philippines. So more railways, urban mass transports, airports, seaports, more bridges and roads to connect all the islands. We are an archipelago. Oh, and then if you saw on the video, it says 7,107 islands. We recently added more islands, so now it's 7,641 islands. With new technology, they found more islands in the Philippines. Thank you.
I would just add
Charisse?
that, Joey, you
Yes.
guys have a lot of material up here.
Yeah.
So if you guys
If
are
we have more
interested,
maps here.
yeah, pamphlets and stuff like that. So, as an announcement, that's all.
Charisse, now we're your press person. Anybody want this one?
Oh, maybe that is
Alright, you wanted to go for this?
Oh, maybe. So, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Charisse Rodriguez from Philippine Airlines. I just want to add a little bit to what the Department of Tourism already mentioned. So being the flag carrier, we fly out of JFK nonstop to Manila, and we're the only carrier that flies nonstop out of JFK. So thank you for having us here. I just want to focus on some island destinations.
Charisse, quick question. You
Yeah.
fly nonstop every day?
Yes, we have daily
Every
flights now. We started started flying out of JFK via Vancouver
Okay.
about 4 times a week. Now,
Yep.
with all of the support, we can fly nonstop already, daily.
Daily. Oh, that's great.
Yes, thank you for that question. So here are some of the destinations. All of the destinations mentioned earlier, we fly to. So the stop would be in Manila and then onwards to, for example, Cagayan de Oro. Cagayan de Oro is in Mindanao, and it's the place known for whitewater rafting, and it's in the south, as I mentioned. Yeah, it's in Mindanao. Okay, one of the islands that has been voted as the #1 island in Condé Nast is Boracay. So we fly from Manila to Caticlan. That's the exact island, or Calibo. That's the gateway to get to the island. So from Calibo, it will be another 2 hours by land, and then another 20 minutes by boat. But you don't have to go through all of that because we fly into Caticlan anyway. Okay, this is another destination that's very popular. This is in central Philippines. It's in the Visayas. Oh no, this is still in Luzon. Sorry. This is where you can find the perfectly conical shaped volcano called Mayon volcano. And also in front of that, it might look near, but it's not. It's Cagsawa ruins. And this is one of my favorite places. I've been there a couple of times. So this is Coron. We fly out of Clark to Busuanga daily. So this destination is known for its white sand beaches, limestone cliffs, sandbars, and it's also where you can find the Kayangan Lake. I don't have a photo of it, I'm so sorry. But Kayangan Lake and the Twin Lagoons, that's where you can find it. It's in Coron. So it's called Busuanga. We fly into Busuanga, and then Coron is the island. And also from Cebu, we fly to Camiguin. So if you're coming from Manila, we fly into Manila, Manila to Cebu, Cebu to Camiguin. This is where you can find this sandbar. So it has, I think, 9 volcanoes in just the little island of Camiguin. So yeah, that's another. And the sunken cemetery. And this is where you can also find a lot of lanzones. Lanzones is a fruit that's
Lychee, equivalent to lychee.
it looks like lychees or lychees. Yeah. And the uni. You can get the freshest uni, which is sea urchins in this island. So yeah, just to add a little bit, Philippine Airlines is the oldest Asian carrier. We've been incorporated in February 1941. And so a lot of people don't know that it's the oldest Asian carrier, and we're the first carrier that started flying, that crossed the Pacific to take home the US Army after the war. So I would like to put that out there, that we're the oldest Asian carrier. But yeah, so thank you. If you need any more information, our office, I'm here, and I can give you my business cards if you do want to fly to the Philippines. Thank you.
Is that me? Am I
Yes,
next?
you're next.
Hi. Oh, we can do better. Hello. I know you ate. So we're up or food coma? Which one is it? How many Filipinos do I have here in the room? Okay, how many friends of Filipino? I better see all the hands up. Anyone been to a hospital lately? Your nurses were probably Filipino. Okay. So I want to thank Con Edison for having us here, and Sally for contacting me and organizing this, and all of you for showing up for the free food. I know you had to twist your arm, but you made it. So thank you for being here, and obviously for PAL and DOT. Oh, thank you. So I'm here listening to the speeches, and I think a lot of the stuff in my PowerPoint might duplicate. So I'm going to go off script a little bit, and instead of being really talking just about the travels and the Philippine Islands, I'm gonna make it just a little bit more personal. And hopefully through my story, you can learn a little bit more about Filipinos and Filipino food. Is it a deal? Okay, if you wanna go, go. If you wanna ask a question, ask a question. As you can tell, I'm very friendly and I love conversation. So please, that's also the Filipino way. So just talk anytime, okay? So here we go. Is this the right button? Is this the right one? Okay. So again, as I mentioned, we've already gone through a little bit about what the Filipinos and Philippine Islands are. 7,600 islands now, and probably 7,000 adobos. We're gonna get to that in a minute. It's very regional. We have a lot of cultural influences, as they mentioned. In fact, the first bite of Filipino food you have is likely of Chinese origin. What we call kakanin, the rice dishes that you have. Lumpia is our spring roll. Pancit is a derivative of piancit from our Chinese heritage. And I'm gonna ask a question. Where do you think is the oldest Chinatown in the world? I'll give you a clue. It starts with a P. Anybody? The oldest Chinatown in the world is actually in the Philippines, in Manila. We predate New York. We predate San Francisco. If you want to go to the real Chinatown, I hope you make it to Binondo. Is that right? So you'll hear me every once in a while when I say something in Tagalog, question mark, because I am Filipino American. And my mother and father are both Filipino. And like a lot of first gens, my mother was a nurse and my father fought for the US military. He served for 30 years. And that's how a lot of us immigrated here, was through either nursing opportunities in the United States or because they served for the US military. So I don't know how many of you are coming from another country, immigrants, but I feel very much American and I feel very much Filipino. And it's because of my understanding of food. It was really my gateway to understanding where my parents came from. The flavors of the Philippines are very regional. That's why I joke when we say there's 7,100 adobos, because oftentimes, yes, we know that adobo is the national dish of the Philippines, but there's so many different ways to cook it, which is why it can be hard owning a restaurant, because you might say, oh, my mother cooks it like this, my father cooks it like this. Well, your mom might come from La Union, and your father may come from Mindanao. And those nuances of the flavor are so very important. I say restaurant because I own 2 restaurants here in New York City. I'm part of a very elite group of women who own restaurants, and a woman person of color that owns restaurants. And I hope you come to either one of them, and I will welcome you with open arms. Some details about the food. On every dish, on every table, you're going to find something called sausawan. Now, there was a woman here when she pulled the barbecue. I said, why don't you dip the barbecue in the sausawan? And she said, I don't do soy sauce. I can understand that. But on every single table, you're going to find some version of a sausawan, which is really the finishing touch to your food. So it would be something salty like soy sauce or patis, something acid, could be vinegar or citrus, calamansi, or suka, and maybe some sile or onion, and you dip it. So it's never fully finished until you put your hands on the food, because we're very opinionated. So it's not done until you eat it. Oddly enough, in America, what we know about Filipino food is so meat-centric. It's crispy pata, it's adobo, it's bistec, longanisa, all of these Spanish, Chinese, Moro, Arabic meats. But in some regions of the Philippines, believe it or not, they eat vegetables. And my mother is from one of those areas. She's from the north, and she's from an area called La Union. And I can trace my research that shows a lot of the Chinese heritage I can find in the north, or in actually Iloilo, where she's from. I find a lot of Chinese influence in the food and architecture. How does that influence the food? Well, if you think about the Chinese immigrants that came to the Philippines, they might have been very, we call it koripot, or it could be very stingy. Can I get a positive word? Frugal. So we might not be using the meat when my mother's town only to eat. We might be preserving those meats to sell for Manila trade. And so my mother's diet, I can't speak for every family, all right, 7,000 adobos, 7,000 families, but my mother and her family really enjoys vegetables. Simple grilled eggplant or pinakbet, dishes that are spiked with fermented shrimp paste called bagoong. So it could be very vegetable forward. And then I found in my travels in Mindanao, which is Moro, or what we call Muslim or Arabic, I also found much more baking spices, cinnamons, and I remember there was a crab I had called curacha, and it was made with turmeric and burnt coconut and with the best seafood. So when you're here in America, you better not be vegan. But if you go to the Philippines, you'll find much more vegetables. So we also are known for eating sometimes 8 times a day in my research. True empirical data. We will eat pre-breakfast, breakfast, post-breakfast, pre-lunch. You're laughing because you know, lunch, post-lunch, pre-dinner, dinner, and after dinner. Do I hear an amen? Yes?
Yes.
Correct. So when you come to the Philippines, the question might not even be, how are you? It might be, have you eaten yet? Because we really will feed you the whole time. I'm very humbled by that because the Philippines is also very impoverished. But somehow, in my father's most poorest time as a family, they're still eating. It could be banana and rice. It could be even a little bit of meat, and he'll just flavor it with his rice. But they're going to eat, yes. And we have, one of those meals is called merienda from our Spanish roots. So you might have any one of those things that you had outside, these rice pastries, if you will, that we eat with kape, right? And some of the best coffee is found in the Philippines. And pork or no pork? Muslim area or Mindanao, I found way more less pork. So I was really shocked to find that. In fact, when I went to Mindanao, I always wondered what would be the Philippines without Spanish or Chinese influence. In Mindanao, close to Indonesia, I could really almost see what the essence of being Filipino is without those influences, even American influence, which was very shocking to me. So you can see that history is still rich and alive, although hanging by a string in the South. Okay, how am I on time, guys? Am I good? Yeah. Well, this is a little bit of a plug. So one of my restaurants is called Jeepney, and one of my restaurants is called Maharlika. The average restaurant typically costs about $500,000 to open. I opened my first restaurant with $10,000 and my second restaurant with $80,000. Jeepney won Best Burger in New York. It was a Filipino burger. And we just were named the #1 tiki bar in all of New York City. I could brag about that, but why am I telling you that? Because I come from very humble beginnings, and there are restaurants that put tens of millions of dollars to be the best tiki bar in New York City. Why we won? I think it's because it was with a lot of heart, and all of the original bartenders in the 1940s who created tiki, mai tais, pina coladas, they were actually Filipino bartenders. So when they rated it, they could see the heart of the matter, and that's also what Filipinos are really known for, is this robust heart. Yeah.
Wait, before you move on,
Yes.
Where is Jeepney?
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I do want to plug, obviously it's my business, but I have a little bit of something called hiya, and I don't want to be too much. So
Please, we're hungry.
Jeepney is located on 1st Avenue and 12th Street. And the second restaurant, Maharlika, is located on 1st Avenue and 7th Street. And we have a garden, we're known for tiki, and the New York Times gave us 2 stars, and Condé Nast Traveler named us as one of their top 100 restaurants in the world. Yes.
And can I just say, your uni palabok in Maharlika is.
Oh, wow. Why do you want to tear up?
Because I hate to say it, but it's so much better than my grandmother's.
Thank you. You see, we're so OA. We're so. No, I really, I appreciate that. You know, when I was growing up, I mentioned to you, I grew up Filipino American, and I really appreciate that. Seriously. When I grew up, I was very embarrassed about my parents' food. So I'm going to break it down for you. I'm 42 years old. I grew up in San Diego, a very military town. And so when my mother would make my lunch, let's scratch that, she can't cook. When my dad would make my lunch, he would put it in Tupperware. And he would put rice and chicken adobo, and everyone else has Lunchables, sandwich. And you can imagine my 5-year-old face, like, I don't want to eat this food in front of everyone. So that's my first experience of being embarrassed about my food or my culture. And then when I went to 7th grade, there was a show called Fear Factor. And they were bribing people $10,000 to eat a balut. We don't have $10,000 here today, but you can do it for free. So, but you can imagine when I went to school the next day, my teacher said, "Hey, Nikki, I saw that ballot. I saw that ballot on the Fear Factor, and that looks disgusting." And I'm 12, and I'm embarrassed. And then when my American friends would come over and my dad would eat with his hands, kamai, I was embarrassed for him to eat the way we eat at home. So I said, "Dad, my God, please, if you're gonna eat kamayan, can you order a burger? Because then it makes sense, I won't be embarrassed." So I really take to heart her feelings. I feel bad that your grandmother's pancit is not as good as ours.
It's pretty damn good.
Thank you. But the point of the restaurants were to change anything that I was embarrassed about into something that I was super proud about. So when you come to the restaurant, we scream balut the way they sell balut in the streets. We say balut, or we serve kamayan. We were one of the first restaurants. I can't say the first, but I think we're probably the first to spark that trend where we eat with our hands, and we do it very proudly. And then I do twists like the pancit with the uni. So we take all the original flavors, but just kick it up, just a little bit special. So this is the matrix. This is what I call the Filipino food matrix. So datus, negritos, igorots, Malay matrix, the Chinese connection, yo hablo español, Filipino Muslims. ARM stands for the Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao, self-governed. And of course, God bless America, and Japan, and Netherlands, and India. So this, my friends, is Filipino food in a snapshot, okay? So you might have fish sauce, you could have baking spices. In America, thank you for the refined sugar and the AP flour. In Japan, we have kakigori, which could predate what we know as halo halo, which is our shaved ice dessert. Netherlands brought us, for a brief spell, Edam cheese. And then India, who were the soldiers for the British, where we have the term sepoys for Indian soldiers, and becomes the derivative for Pinoys. When we talk about Mexico, oh, no one talks about Mexico. I talk about Mexico. When we talk about the Philippines, mostly we talk about Spain. And as he mentioned, it's about 300 years of influence. And I like these very light terms of occupation and influence and discovery. It was pretty ravaged, okay? I think we lost a lot of people when Japan came. I think when America comes, we become a little bit more bereft of our culture, because ultimately also in the spirit of Filipinos is this welcoming come and join us. And there's a naivete about that. So what we knew about food then, we know that when Spain came, they actually sailed through Mexico. They didn't sail through Spain. They sailed through the viceroy of the city of Mexico. So when they come to the Philippines, I actually see a lot of influence of Spain in cultures like architecture and formality, but I think we would be really remiss if we didn't highlight Mexico's influence on Philippines. Sailing from Spain, we were likely, sailing from Mexico, we were likely rubbing elbows with the servants of the boats and maybe eating their food with us, right? Because I don't think we were hanging out with aristocracy. I don't think usually that's how it works. So I do like to highlight Mexico's influence, and we have that in tamales. But our tamales is not made with corn. Our tamales is sometimes made with a rice masa. Right? So you don't see a lot of corn. Sometimes in desserts and stuff, but not like Mexico. And yeah, so this is the matrix. Let's see. Typical dishes I want you to become familiar with. Again, Chinese influence. This is pancit molo. This is from, yes, stand up. This is a wonderful soup, and it's also a wonton soup. Very simple. In like, you could order any wonton soup here in America, but I find that the wrapping is so thick. There, it's like, you ever see chiffon? The material is like this. You know, it's so light that you just taste the broth and the meat dumpling, and you put a little bit of white pepper. Oy! Sorry. Crispy pata. So this is a deep fried pork leg, and in my restaurant we do it like a duck confit. So when you pull away the skin, it's crispy, and then you have webs of fat and meat. And I didn't get this body on Weight Watchers, so I love that dish. And you want to dip it in the sausawan, that vinegar, right? We don't have a wine culture. We have a sausawan culture. We have a vinegar culture. And there's so many different types of vinegar. There's banana, there's rice, there's nipa. So I like to highlight our education of fermentation and vinegars. It really adds to it. That's why wine doesn't work. Beer and cocktails, you're good. Wine, I'm not too sure. This is an ingredient that's taking over America. It's called ube. If the Japanese have matcha, we have ube. This is the ingredient du jour. And your yams here in America are typically orange. Same idea. You just put prints on in the background, Purple Rain, and this is not food coloring. It's like your shirt. The gentleman there, it's as purple as his shirt. It's so good. And it has like a vanilla and pistachio flavor to it. And then this is like my favorite dish. This is called kare kare. And you can see the curry. It's a peanut stew. And who's Jamaican or Caribbean? We could go toe to toe with the oxtails, because this is our oxtail dish. And it just falls off the bone, and you don't want to eat it with friends because you want to suck that meat off the bone and all the sauces and eat it with rice. It's super yummy. And we have something here called vegetables, but that's okay. Oh, am I on time? Am I okay? Here are the four corners of Filipino food. It's acid, so you have calamansi, which is our lime. Almost you want to mix a mandarin with a key lime, or the vinegars, as I mentioned. Sweet. I know Filipinos like to say that we have a sweet tooth, but I actually think we have a sausawan tooth. We have a very sour tooth. We like high asim, maasim. There is sweetness, but I think that has been an influence of America, quite frankly. When I go to the provinces, I don't find a lot of sugar. And then heat in the form of ginger or chilies. It's not a hot food. So when people come here, they want to experience chilies. We'll give you chilies on the side, but it's not a very spicy food. Okay, Chinese connection, what did we get? Soy sauce, noodles, dumpling, tofus, Filipino Muslims, curries, baking spices, no pork. God bless America. Processed sugar, canned meats, we like Spam. Canned cheese, we call it sometimes government cheese. Edam cheese, ice cream, halo are these examples. And then lastly, habla español, we have garlic. I've seen some renditions of adobo actually use oregano or dry oregano. These are hyper regional versions of Filipino food. Okay. And when you walk away today, I want you to know just these basic dishes. So when you walk into a Filipino restaurant or a Filipino home, you can be just a little bit more knowledgeable and therefore free. Sometimes people feel very scared to try something new. Pancit, anytime you see pancit, it just means noodles. The second word typically means its preparation. So pancit malabon is a seafood, or pancit bihon is a stick noodle with just like a little broth sauteed. Adobo, I mentioned before. This, to me, is the legacy of Filipino food, cooking with vinegars to preserve it. So if there's no refrigeration or if there's a high typhoon, you will have food that can keep. In fact, there's another dish called kilawin or kinilaw. It's our ceviche. It is the oldest documented recipe in the Philippines. Cooking with liquid fire is what we call it. Sautés like caldereta or adobo, these and raises these deep, rich stews. This is Filipino food. And I just would like to highlight to you a little bit more of my journey to give you some context in Filipino food. As I mentioned, I was a little embarrassed growing up with it because people would make fun of me. And then lo and behold, this is 1998, this is 21 years ago. And this is only a snapshot of what it was like then, so it was far worse prior. This is a snapshot of what Filipino restaurants look like in America. They were typically carinderias or toro, which you point, toro means point. So you have a steam table, it's a point joint, and you get a little rice, and you get to pick what things you want with it. But these weren't restaurants that would uphold a client or an expense account, or you may not want to go on a date there, Tinder, Bumble, whatever you use. You probably weren't going to go to those kind of places. Okay, let's fast forward. This is 2010, so that's 12 years later. And Filipino food still looks like this. And yet Thai food is popping, and Vietnamese, and Korean, and Chinese. And it dawned on me, what the heck is going on here? Why? Because we're number 2 in America after Chinese. 3.8 million Filipinos in America. And we don't got restaurants. We speak English in the Philippines. We fought for the U.S. military, and we have what is going on here? So I moonlighted for 12 years. I said, you know what, if no one's going to do it, maybe I can. So I was in advertising, and for 12 years I moonlighted. I was an ad exec by day, and at night I started off as a dishwasher, a host. I did every position I could in the restaurant, and I also began to unpack colonialism, unpack shame, unpack all of that, so that when we could finally have a Filipino restaurant, you could make an impact. So 2010, I began Maharlika, and I opened another restaurant, Jeepney, and now this is Filipino food today. These are not the carinderias, these are not the toros, and this is not even everything. There's musang that's opening up in Seattle. There's chismis that just opened in New York. There's obviously Bad Saint. So Filipino food and Filipino people, art, if you've heard of Bruno Mars, if you've heard of Jo Koy, if you've heard of her, I mean, I'm gonna drop the mic. Filipinos are popping. It's a renaissance of food and people and culture, and we're also happen to be at a very particular time in American history where we're all saying, yes, I can, or si se puede. So I hope that you will say, yes, we can to Filipino food, and when you go to the hospital, be like, I know what you're eating. When you meet someone in line, I think you're Filipino. I hear Spanish, but it sounds Asian. I don't understand. You must be Filipino. And I hope that you'll even consider taking PAL. They didn't pay me to do this. I'm just saying because it's only 16 hours nonstop from US. So anyway, I'll just say this. When I was a kid, I saw my mom very rarely. Immigrant woman, worked all the time. We would do errands like going to the bank, and I would tell the teller, keep the change, just because I love saying that. Now, as an adult woman, I know what that meaning is, and it means keep the change. Let's keep it going. I hope you visit the restaurants. I hope you share your own cultures and food. And that's my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.
Okay, so just a couple of thanks before we go into the food challenge portion of the event. I want to thank all the presenters, Philippine Department of Tourism, USA, New York City, Philippine Airlines, Jeepney Maharlika Restaurants, APACE, our chief engineer, Mr. Dan Taft, for sponsoring this event, the FACE, Filipino American of Con Edison members, and all of you guests for making the event what it is today. So really appreciate you being here and being able to enjoy the culture and cuisine of the Philippines. Will?
Oh.
Yeah, super quick.
Yes,
And then
of course.
You're
So-
part of the challenge.
I am part of the challenge, I agree. I also want to say thank you to all of the guest speakers here. I think this was one of the best lunch and learns, if you want to call it that. Learned a lot. Actually, there's going to be good food out there. But I appreciate you guys coming to help us get the message out. And I think I signed up for something that I'm not exactly sure, but it should be interesting. So this is going to be coming up, the Balut Challenge.
You can't join your pescatarian.
Yeah, but for this, I'll do it. I'll do it for this. Yeah. So, actually, I wanted to say that the restaurant, they're very close because I've been to Jeepney for lunch. So it's within walking distance, and it's probably a good lunch idea at some point during the summer. So, is there anyone else that's going to do this challenge with me? Come on! We just need 3. It's me, 2. All right. John.
Wait, do you know what it is?
Oh, you want to describe what it is?
No, I said balut is a Filipino cuisine. Come try. It's
John?
the syrup is sweet, right?
No, it's not. It's protein.
Oh, protein's okay.
I think if anything, it might be cholesterol. Those are very big eggs.
Hey, look. I don't think so.
I can say that the balut is a duck embryo.
Oh.
It's all right, John.
Oh my God.
You guys gotta get pictures of this.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No wonder they called it a challenge.
It was on beer packet.
Oh my God. How do you eat it?
Dan, they usually put the soup over rice.
Show us how it's supposed to be. Come on, Jude. I've done it too.
Like a mature.
Chew it.
All right.
Woohoo!
Like a mature.
Go, John. Yeah! Go, Dan. So proud.
Last one I had 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness. Go, Anita. We're
All right.
How is it, Will?
Here he goes.
How is it, Will? Good? How is it?
Feel the feather in your heart, the cheek, the eye.
Two thumbs up or? How is it?
I don't have any. I guess I'm up here, but
Did you eat it, Will? That's not right.
That's hard. I thought it was good. Yeah.
How should I eat that?
That tastes okay. Although I think
Did you eat it, Will? It's not right.
don't look at it for too long because I want to eat it.
This is a hard part at the bottom.
I couldn't take it out. Okay. I'm not going to look at that.
Oh my god.
Crunchy stuff or anything like that.
I tried to see it. Why is this hard?
You gotta eat it.
Oh, you want to try it?
I try it now? That's to be honest.
I got a piece of feather.
Hey, Dwight, let me see Dwight. Let me see Dwight. Come over here. Okay. Okay, let me see. What do you have? And the bike? There you go. Okay, turn it up. Can you see it?
It's like sipping a coffee. There you go. See from the end.
How is it? How is it? How is it?